January 8th, 2025 meeting of the IT Committee. Call the roll of the members. Mr. Hassinger,
I'm here.
Mr. Clark,
Here.
Mr. Carroll doesn't seem to be here, at least not yet, and Mr. Robbins is present. So we have 3 out of 4 members online and participating. We have our honored guest, Town Administrator Evan Brassard. And we'll begin the agenda with our usual first agenda item, which is public input. We do not have any Zoom attendees to provide public input, but if any one of us has something that qualifies as public input as opposed to anything on the meeting agenda, now would be the time. And without that, we'll proceed to our next agenda item, the update from our town administrator. So whatever Evan has to bring to us, we'll be delighted to listen to it and talk about it.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Thanks everyone for having me. We are very busy at the town of Grafton, mostly not with technology at the current time. Most of our technology conversations are happening at the Regional Emergency Communications Center. We've really been hunkered down in that project pretty seriously in the last few months. But at the town of Grafton specifically, we're undergoing a few things. One, we're upgrading all the Windows 10 machines to Windows 11s, as 10 is no longer going to be supported. So we're in the process of updating 113 machines, 5 of which need to be replaced. They don't have the specifications to be able to handle Windows 11. And then I have another somewhere between 8 and 10 machines that we're going to be upgrading the RAM just to be a little bit more consistent with the spec. They're really not that old of machines. They were bought just prior to me getting to Grafton, I believe with some COVID monies when everyone went to laptops, and they're just a little low on the spec side. So we're going to throw some RAM in those and should be able to save us some money and have those machines last a little bit longer, which is good. We are also undergoing a little bit of a spec building on a new server for the town. The server that we have is, I believe this is its 11th year. It is a very robust Dell unit, but it is no longer supported and no longer warranted. So we do need to look at something a little more current, and so we are building a price on that. The plan would be to move this server off-site and use it as a backup or replication server, just to add another layer of redundancy to what we're doing. We do already have that capability, but that unit is 2009 vintage, so this one would replace that one and should give us a little bit more of a robust capability. We are in the process as well of moving over to Duo security software and multi-factor authentication inside the network as well as outside the network. So, staff is real happy about that, but we are rolling that out in a few different ways. One is obviously app-based. The other is fob-based. So we should be able to do a little something there. And those are kind of the large technology things we have going on right now. This is technology adjacent, but maybe you'll find it interesting. So the municipal center is obviously a old school building. Every office has a clock that is run off of a central clock. It is cat level wiring, so it is actually a 4-wire system, which it's positive, negative, neutral, and an interrupt, which is what sends the signal to the clocks to make them all sync. And so that died last week. It is made by a company that has been out of business for 20 years. The company that bought the system, I found this interesting. When you go to buy parts for it, when you click the link, it says, "Why are you trying to buy parts for an outdated system that no longer exists? You should be upgrading to such and such." So we're going to figure out what we're doing there. I do like having network or clocks that are all on the same time throughout the building. But now that everybody has a computer and a smartphone and everything else, it becomes less of a need, and systems like that can be pretty expensive. So we're looking at what we're going to do with that. I have explored RF systems a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. Beyond that, and we have a number of projects going that are, again, technology adjacent. Radio upgrades as we prepare for our rec system. I'm working with police and fire on that. We are currently building out our Zello network capability. And so we spent some time in the last couple of weeks speccing equipment for that. And that should be online hopefully within the next 2 weeks. And that's a pretty neat piece of tech that fire's been using in Grafton for the past few years, but it was never extended to police. So we're in the process of doing that. Those are really the major initiatives that we've got going on. Like I said before, most of it revolves around the transition to Windows 11 and upgrading some machines to deal with that.
Any questions, comments from anybody on the committee?
Just remind me, Evan, the two-factor authentication, I think that was being driven by insurance requirements.
Correct.
So what's the date, the kind of drop dead date on that, just for my information?
Last July.
Okay.
Okay. So no, we have been working with them. I think a lot of municipalities are in the same position that we are, is that everything is designed for MFA outside the network. And, the cybersecurity insurance companies understand that we have unions to contend with and all these other factors that come into it. So, we've done pretty much everything we can from a non-union perspective. That's why we have that kind of dual layer, one being app-based and one being fob-based. So union employees are offered a fob instead of an app on their phone. And most of the union employees seem like they understand that just putting an app on their phone is going to be the easiest thing for them in their own personal lives. But there are some that want to go with the fob option. So we have that for them as well. So I did remember actually, Amar, I don't know why your question triggered something else that I'm doing, but again, not directly. It's quasi tech committee type of conversation, but we've talked about this in the past. We have a Honeywell HVAC system at the municipal center. It runs on a Windows 2008 server that we have replicated in our newer server. And I believe we're going to be pushing through into our capital plan for this year, upgrading the software. We're about 5 versions behind on software. It's about 10 years out of date. And so the upgrade to get us into a more modern interface is about $80,000. So we're working our way through that right now. But it is starting to cause us some headaches of trying to determine, we're getting failures that aren't specifically just hardware related. So it does seem like we're having interface issues with the existing software. So it's pretty much single source. There's not really a whole heck of a lot we can do about it without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to upgrade controls to a totally different system. So we're going to be working on that and bring that forward to town meeting in the spring.
Yeah, I seem to recall that almost since we installed that Honeywell system, we've had issues with the
Mhm.
control software in terms of where it can run and access to it, and a lot of issues that I don't remember in any detail, but it's just that's kind of what I'm remembering over the many years we've had that system. It's never really been smooth.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't been smooth for the 4 years that I've been here. It's a very outdated software package, and unfortunately, I think that they fixed. Well, at least we're hoping that they fixed a lot of problems in the successive versions. That would help us kind of get the system back under control. It does work, but we have had, at least probably a dozen failures that are you could trace back to the software in the past, say, 6 months. So it's been a real pleasure to track down.
For certain meanings of the word pleasure.
Mhm.
Yeah, Bob Carroll had your hand up.
That was supposed to be, and people seem to really think that was wonderful when it went in. It was a big jump, I think, from
Mhm.
what had gone on before. Something about coal being shoveled into a furnace.
Yeah, right.
You could
Right.
smell the oil down in the furnace room.
Yeah, still can.
Ah.
So,
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, so my question was, so what's like the legacy apps and what's still running on that server that needs to be upgraded?
so it's a lot of our backup data. It is some of our mapping software that's housed there that's not cloud-based. We will be, when we look at new servers, we're talking about downsizing quite a bit because we aren't running apps, say that we would have been 5 years ago even. A lot of that is now out in the cloud, and we're just not responsible for it anymore. So, for example, if we were doing this server 5 years ago, we'd be talking about having all of our financial software on there, our banking
Right.
software lives there. All of that has been offloaded, and is now based in the cloud and hosted by somebody else. So when the server, and I can't remember the model of the server, but the server that we're replacing is a really robust, probably twice to 3 times the size of anything that the town would have even needed at the time that it purchased it. And so we'll be downsizing pretty considerably.
So there's no way to go 100%, right? And go to some data center somewhere or virtualize.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. I don't think that this iteration is going to get us entirely virtualized. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be considerably less. I mean, we're talking the server that we are replacing cost the town 10 years ago almost $100,000. And
Yeah, I remember when we did all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so we're looking at a server, a decade later almost, that is, we're going to be in the $10,000 range probably all in.
Right.
So,
But there's still the maintenance, the patching, right?
yep.
All the care and feeding that goes with that. Where
True. Yeah, very true. We have, I think we've offloaded quite a bit. But we will have to, so also on this server will live the Honeywell software that we're discussing right now, building management systems, which this also runs 2 schools, I believe, are on this Honeywell interface or software driver. Most of our data, it's really we're not a data organization, and most of our data is either hosted or replicated in a data center. So we're pretty insulated from that as well.
So, and I'm sorry, Evan, the server that we're replacing, what version is that running? 08,
No, that one is 16,
16? Okay.
I believe.
So,
Yeah,
but
I have-
still end of
yes.
service, end of life.
correct. Yeah, and so that's why we're looking at this current go around. We have I think I might have been talking about it right when you jumped on, Bob. We have the only thing we have running on 08 is the Honeywell system.
Okay.
And so what we have spent, some time in the background trying to make that work with a more modern, version of the server. But I think we're getting to the point where we need to, cut bait here and just bite the bullet. We're starting to see fees from the HVAC companies that are pretty exorbitant because we're not current. So
Yeah, I don't imagine they would they're real interested in supporting 15-year-old software.
yeah, and that's been the problem. We what we've been doing is when something goes down, we replace the piece of hardware with a spare piece of hardware that we have, and if that doesn't fix it, then it's probably software. Is where we're finding ourselves because the hardware, the manufacturers of the hardware have changed. Most of it is backwards compatible, so it's okay. But it's not backwards compatible back to the software that we have. So we're finding ourselves kind of in this black hole, and we've pushed it off. Like I said, the town's pushed it off for quite a while, but I've pushed it off myself for 3-4 years now, knowing that we're gonna get to a point where we can't do this anymore.
It's just sort of completely off topic, but it's an interesting contrast to the business I used to work in. I spent a lot of years in R&D organizations where we were designing telephone switching equipment. And back in the day, we designed that equipment with a expectation of it being able to live for 40 years. For say the same hardware was designed and intended to live out in the field for 20, 30, 40 years. And we approached the design and the implementation and from that perspective, but then technology's come a long way since then.
Yeah.
And we do things a lot differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anything else, guys? I didn't include on the agenda the specific topic of IT policies.
I know.
And it was sort of our major work item, and we're kind of, we spent some time talking about it last year. We've got a few samples of IT policies of various kinds uploaded on the SharePoint. But the way we kind of left it was we're sort of looking for Evan to sort of set some priorities and directions. And Evan's plate has been rather full for the last several months. So I didn't have any expectation, Evan, that you'd have much of anything for us tonight.
I apologize.
That's kind of the main thing that we want to look at going forward is finding a way to make some progress on that. Within the constraints of your available resources, Evan.
Yeah, I was going to make a suggestion in that, I've been working on, we've redone all of the select board policies for the town of Grafton. I think we have 2 left. And I was going to suggest that maybe we could move William off of that project as soon as he's done and have him kind of spearhead the policy discussion here. And that might make things move a little bit quicker. And maybe get you guys engaged in that faster as I keep getting pulled off in other directions.
Yeah, for some reason, Evan, IT is not your top responsibility in this town. Can't imagine why.
Depends on the day, what I walk into.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that would probably be more prudent and probably satisfying to those of you that are sitting on this committee to get some forward momentum going. He's been really good at it with the other projects that we've undertaken as far as policy goes. So
yep. So, yeah, but maybe we'll plan on hearing more about that and talking more about that next month.
yeah, I mean, we've already discussed it in my office to a certain degree. So I think without objection from the committee, that's the direction I would head in.
Sound okay to you guys, Bob and MR?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I
So
appreciate that.
basically, whenever you and William, between the two of you, are prepared to continue the discussion with this committee, and we can get to work on that. Whether that's our meeting next month or beyond, kind of depending upon what you and William can set up between you.
Yeah, our initial conversation was that it would be for next month. So because I'd like to get that moving. I'm going to be pretty much in the budget here. That's all I've been kind of doing between the rec and the budget. Been pretty tight
Understood.
with that. So
Right. Well, we will plan on that.
okay, great.
And of course, if anything comes up to require the plans to change, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm flexible.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
So, anything else that anyone has for Evan? I think the rest of our agenda is kind of paperwork.
Okay,
We've got our annual report that's due at the end of the month. We've got one set of meeting minutes we can review, and that's about it.
okay. Well, then I will sign off, and you'll start working with William at your next meeting. But I'm around, so if you
Great.
need anything, let me know.
Thanks, Evan.
Thanks for your time tonight, Evan.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great night, everyone. Happy New Year.
You too.
You too. Happy New Year.
Bye.
All right. So, next agenda item, I circulated a draft annual report for this committee. It's mostly the same boilerplate that it is every year, but tried to fill in what we did last year and what we plan for this year. Any comments, suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it captured what we did and what we planned to do pretty well. So I was happy with it. Thank you for putting it together.
I suppose a motion would be in order to approve the annual report as drafted for submission to the town administrator's office for inclusion in the annual report, town annual report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I'm sorry, David. I was just reading through it.
Oh, Evans, you want to read it before you approve it?
Oh, come on.
It's concurrently. I'm doing it real time here. But yeah, it looks good. Thanks again. I echo Amar. Thanks for pulling this together. I know I haven't have done this in the past. It's not always a whole lot of fun. So just refresh my memory. I saw the minutes. So the last time we met was back in August.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
We may have tried to meet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
not a quorum.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Yes, I've was hoping to schedule more meetings, but we were largely waiting for Evan to have something for us to talk about with policy, and Evan kept not having anything for us, so
Right.
there was no other reason to meet. But
Yeah. No, I recall all that. I was just, I didn't recall that was as far back as August. Wow.
yes, that did strike me when I was reviewing my meeting notes and everything, and yeah, it really it has been since August. Anyway, there is a motion on the floor regarding the annual report with no further discussion. Mr. Carroll,
Carol's eye.
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger,
Aye.
and Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. I have the report done. They want it by January 31st, so I think we won't miss that deadline. Yes, our next agenda item is to review and approve the minutes of August 7th.
So make a
we-
motion. Go ahead, Bob.
I just said, move we approve.
I'll
Seconded.
second.
Motion made and seconded that the draft minutes of August 7th be approved as drafted. Any discussion of that motion? I did, just on the topic of minutes, I've been reviewing all the minutes the minutes posted to the town website. The most recent one was June or July of 2022. I've been going through everything I have since then. Alan did write up a lot of it, minutes of several meetings after that. He never got them posted. I'll take care of getting those posted. And I've got
So they're done and approved. They just haven't been uploaded.
yes, there's several that have been done and approved, just hadn't been uploaded. So I will take care of that. And there are a number of meetings for which minutes were never written. I've started work on producing minutes for the meetings that Alan was unable to produce minutes for, or since Alan, yes, the August 7th meeting is probably the one, after Alan was no longer on the committee. But anyway, I'm gonna try to get our other minutes caught up and posted to the website. But for now, we've got just our most recent meeting. And with no further discussion on the motion, Mr. Carroll,
Yep. Carol's eye.
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger,
Aye.
and Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. I'll get those minutes posted. And we don't have any topic for which an executive session is required. So that agenda item we will pass over. And we have reached the end of the agenda.
I move we adjourn.
So wait, before we adjourn, was it at some point, was there a candidate that was interested on,
And they didn't show up.
oh, is that what happened?
yeah, there was a
Am I
candidate.
right, Dave?
Yes, did not show up for the select board meeting at the time they were going to interview and appoint the candidate. They pushed that off to a subsequent meeting. And by the time the subsequent meeting rolled around, the candidate had apparently dropped.
So they pulled back.
No longer in this,
Mm.
but we still have a vacancy. Sometime within the last week or two, there was an announcement of committee vacancies, and our committee is on that list. So
Yeah, I see it posted from time to time.
I think I
Yep.
just saw it today on somewhere in social media.
So yeah, that's the story on our committee membership so far.
Okay. Yeah, because the last thing I remembered, I thought there was someone that was had some interest, but okay. That explains why they're not here.
Does indeed. All right, so I heard a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All righty, outstanding. Moved and seconded. This meeting be adjourned. Mr. Carroll,
Yep. Carol's eye.
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger,
Aye.
and Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. We are adjourned.